All right, so 4.1 is percentages. And just to make sure we're cool with where I'm, hold on, before I do that, with where I'm getting these problems from, I always like to show you. That's 4.2. All right, so your homework, and we go to 4.1. And here we go. It says you take out $21,500 in a car loan at 9.6% APR. Then they ask you the question. So my numbers are different on my notes, but I'm just showing you where I'm getting my problems from. There's right from the homework and all the good stuff like that. So let's go back. And just like before, we'll do a few out of each section. Not to do too many, but to do enough to get you going. So you take out $14,500 as a car loan at 10.8% annual percentage rate, APR, annual percentage rate. What is the monthly or periodic interest rate? So if you have an annual percentage rate, an APR of 10.8%, then if you want to find the monthly rate, you divide it by 12, and that'll give you 0.9%. And that's all there is to A. So B asks you to interpret what that 0.9% means, and that's just the interest charged per month. Interest charged per month. All right. See how much interest is earned or charged, excuse me, per month. So you would take that 0.9% and multiply it times the 14,500. Don't forget, before you do your calculation, you convert that percentage to a decimal. So you're just moving that decimal 2 places to the left to give you 0.009. Or you can divide it by 100. It does the same thing. If you divide that 0.9 by 100, that's the same thing as moving the decimal 2 places to your left. And so when you multiply that by the 14,500, you will get $130.50. All right. Questions on that first one? All right. Let's look at number 2. Questions on 1 before we go to 2. Number 2 kind of sets you up and give you the actual process. It says you're going to set it up as part over whole equal to percent over 100. And they tell you what the part is. Part is 25. Your whole is 50. So what I was telling the class, last class, is that part is sometimes referred to as amount, and your whole is sometimes referred to as base, allowing your P to be percent. So if you remember that terminology and you remember solving these using P, A, and B, you can go ahead and lean on that terminology. It's the same thing, the same setup. Calling it amount over base versus part over whole is the same thing. All right. So you set up your proportion. That means you're doing 25 over 50. Hold on a second, I'm messing up my phone. All right, 25 over 50 equal to P over 100. The percent is what we're trying to find. And if you can cross multiply, that's always an option. Or if you just see the fact here, we can multiply both sides by 100. The 100s will cancel on the right, leaving you with P. Then 25 divided by 50 times 100 will give you that 50%. All right. Questions on that one before we look at the next one? All right. So here, of the 174 people attending a movie theater, 166 bought buttered popcorn. What percent bought buttered popcorn? All right. So percentage is the unknown piece. And we have, of the 174, 166 bought butter popcorn. So we have a total of 174 people. 166 of them bought the butter popcorn. So the 166 is the part, and the whole, the total amount of people is the 174. So we do P over 100 because we want to know what percent, and 166 over 174. Any questions on the setup? All right, so from there, once again, you can either cross multiply to solve or multiply both sides by 100, and that'll give you 95.4%. Questions? Any questions? All right. So the next one, 168 meals. It says, okay, 168 meals is what percent of 480 meals?
Excuse me?
Excuse me?
Yes, I do have a question on the last one you did.
Uh-huh.
How did you how did you get P equals 95.4? How did you do the P divided 100 equals 166 divided 174? How
uh
did you get 95.4?
So now, are you talking about longhand or just by using the calculator?
Longhand. Because when I do it, I normally do the cross multiplication.
Okay, now it's the same process. You still, what would end up happening if you cross multiply, you're going to have 174p equal to 100 times 166, which is 166 times 100. I mean, dang, 166 times 100, which is 16,600, right? So then you're going to divide by 174, which would be the same thing.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be exactly the same thing. It's just that you multiply by 100. It's just another way of getting there. So if you were talking about doing a longhand, then you would put the 174 on the outside and then set up your divisional process that way. Other than that, you'll be throwing it in the calculator.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right. So 168 meals is what percent of 480 meals? So another way of looking at your relationships is over of equal to your percent over 100. Percent is always over 100, but also whatever is connected to is that's not your percent, and then whatever's connected to of that's not your percent will be your part in your whole. So in other words, 168 meals is, which goes right here. And then what percent, of course, this is your percent. And then of 480 goes down here. So is over of is the other way you can remember how to set up your proportion. Another way of doing it, let's say if you want to set up an equation, got 168 is, there's equal sign, what percent is P, of mathematically means multiplication, and then 480. So you have 168 equal to P times 480. So that's another way of setting up your relationship. You could use an equal sign. I mean, not equal sign, an equation. And so you can solve them both ways. Once again, you'll get the same result. So that'd be 168 equal to 480 P. Divide both sides by 480, and you get 0.35. On this left side, if we solve our proportion, and let's say if we want to do cross multiplication, remember you always multiply with 100. If we cross multiply, that's 480p equal to 16,800. Divide by 480. P is equal to 35%. And so the only drawback of using the equation, your equation gives you the percentage in decimal, so you have to turn it to a percent. But either way, you'll still get the same result, which is that 0.35 or 35%. All right. Questions on that? All right. So the next one, Sue earns $500 per week and has 27% of this amount withheld for taxes, Social Security, and Medicaid. That should have been a comma right there. But, yep, taxes, Social Security, and Medicaid. Find the amount withheld. So a question you could be asking yourself is, what is 27% of 500? That 500 is the total amount that she earns per week. So that 500 is your total. You want to know what amount of your 500 is being withheld. So you can set up your proportion this way: 27 over 100, because your 27 is your percent. We don't know the amount withheld, but we do know the total amount earned, which is 500. So that'll be X over 500. All right. Cross multiply. 500 times 27, 100 times X. Divide by 100. 13,500 divided by 100 will leave you with $135. All right, questions. All right. Questions out of 4.1, a lot of those were similar scenarios. Don't try those out, see if you get stuck. All right, so let me show you how this first problem is set up. So we're looking here at part to part 4.2. All right, so annual carbon dioxide emissions in 2012 by country is given by the table. Complete the charts or parts. So they give you this chart you're supposed to lean on in order to be able to fulfill the questions of the problem. So let's go to the notes. And once again, just to emphasize, my numbers in my chart may be different from your numbers. So first question, compute the part-to-part ratio of the US to China and scale the second quantity to 100. So in the chart, they gave me this US part, and they gave me this China part. So that was given in the chart. So then it says scale the second quantity to 100. So I was emphasizing 2 here. So it says US to China, then second quantity to 100. So that's what we're looking at right here. And that's how we're going to set up our ratios, in which we take that 5270.4, place it over the 8160.4, and then set it equal to x over 100. Questions on the setup? So you can multiply it by 100 or use your cross multiplication. Either way, you're going to get the same result. X will be equal to 65.59. And B, once again, just asks you to interpret that number and just represents the fact that US emitted 65% of what China emitted. All right. Questions? Any questions? All right. So C, compare part to whole ratio of the US to the world and scale the second quantity to 100. So same type of deal. They gave me, well, we know the US part is 5270.4, but then the world, which is the whole, is 32,310.3. Then second quantity to 100 is X to 100. And we set up our proportion this way. Cross multiply or multiply by 100, once again, is your option. Either way, you'll get the same result. And X will be 16.3. All right. Questions? Any questions? Oh, see somebody in there. Could you scroll up so I can get a question? Is there a question from example 2? Question, why Jesus? Going back to uh, Mr. O'Neill, you said question 2? Sample, example C. Okay. So this one or, so this is C, the question for sample 2, let's see. Okay, good. I was trying to make sure I get it. Okay, cool, cool. All right, anything else before we go to the next one? Everybody good, everybody straight. All right, good, good, good. So next one, a store is having a clearance sale on winter gear due to global warming. And I thought it was funny how they made global warming sound like it was just some type of seasonal event. So with everything marked down 15%, the boots you have been wanting to buy are now $65. Fill in the table to find their original price and the markdown. So I'll give you a chance to write that before I scroll down. All right. Let me erase this so we can talk about it organically. Let me get this out of here. So this is how they give us the chart as far as the homework is concerned. They give you markdown blank, then $15, new price, $65, then blank, original price blank, then $100. All right, and they want you to fill in the 3 spots. All right. So the easiest spot to fill is this one. That's the first one. So you want to know what your new price is. And they kind of set it up a little funky as far as I'm concerned. I would have put the original price first, put the markdown in the middle, then new price last. But this is how they set it up. So we have to roll with what they have. So to find that out, all you would do is do 100, which is your original price, minus your 15, which is your markdown, which gives you $85. So your original price minus the markdown will be your new price. All right. So now I can use, and I was calling this markdown, call this the original price, calling that P for original price. I can find the original price by using this proportion. So I will write 85 over 100 is equal to 65 over P. All right. Once you have that set up, you can cross multiply 65 times 100, 85 times P, divide by 85, and we have $76.47. right, questions? All right. So, like I said, that represents the original price of your $65 boots. So if you want to find the markdown to fill in this last piece right here, you want to find that markdown, you would just subtract 65 from that 76.47, and you're left with $11.47 as your markdown. All right. Any questions? All right. So the next one, I think this is the last one. Yeah, because the next few, there are only 8 problems in this homework assignment, and like 3 or 4 of them are just like this one. So compute the total cost per year of the following pair of expenses, then complete the sentence. On an annual basis, the first set of expenses is blank percent of the second set of expenses. So I'll let you copy that, and I'll scroll up and we'll get to the real problem. All right, so I got caught up talking. That's what the mess up is. It says Maria spends $24 on lottery tickets every week and $145 per month on food. Like I said, one of the classmates was talking in the last class, trying to talk and write at the same time. So, so I scratched those 2 words out. But Maria spends $24 on lottery tickets every week and $145 per month on food. So we want to know the expenses, the percent expenses of the first compared to the second. So we're looking at the total cost per year. And so we convert both of these expenses to years, or to year, how much you spent per year. So the lottery is $24 every week. So that's 52 times 24, because there's 52 weeks in a year. All right. And then the food is $145 per month. So the 12 months in a year is 145 times 12. So it gives us 1248 and 1740. All right. So remember, the first one is your numerator, second one is your denominator. Remember, it says first set of expenses in comparison to your second set of expenses. So your first set of expenses is a percentage of your second set of expenses. So we take that 1248, put it over your 1740, convert that to a decimal, that's 0.7172. Then to convert it to a percentage, you multiply it by 100. and that's 71.7%. So lottery is 71.7% of food. The cost of the lottery, 71.7% of the cost of food. All right. Questions? Any questions? All right. Concerns, comments on anything? So, like I said, there are like 3 or 4 problems like this out of the 8. So, once again, you take it, convert it to years accordingly. So, if it's 12, if it's 12 is months, you multiply by 12. If it's day, not days, but weeks, you multiply by 52. If it's year, you only multiply by 1. That means it only happens 1 time per year. It happens annually. So, convert it to a year. And then place the first one over the second one to convert to a decimal and multiply by 100. When you say we need an ID for the midterm, the TCG ID or just any. Um, since considering the situation, if you have a valid ID, that's fine. It don't necessarily have to be TCC. Now, for future reference, now there are teachers out here who are way more strict than I am, and they are looking for TCC ID. And really, I mean, I should be doing the same, but I am providing a little bit of leniency as long as your name is on that roll and I see that that is a legitimate ID. I can make the comparison between the two. But there are some, so don't take what I do and then compare it to another instructor and say, hey, well, such and such allowed me to do such and such. Whatever goes on in their class is their class. So just make sure that, if somebody asks you for TCC ID, you do have it available. But I am fine with other IDs as long as I can legitimately see that that is you, picture on it. I can compare it to what I see in SIS and be all right. Also, keep in mind, I'm only asking you for one camera to be on you. Um, as long as you have your Zoom working properly and it is on you and I can see you, then I am fine with that. But there are instructors who are asking for multiple cameras to be on you. So once again, don't take what I do and think that that's going to fly in other classes. They tell you this stuff from day one, from jump. So they are actually holding you accountable for it. So that means your Zoom need to be working. You have to have a phone sitting, focused on your hands, so your hands aren't going different directions or different hands not popping up on the screen. It is real for some instructors, so make sure that you hold yourself accountable for whatever actions are being held to other classes and other instructors' classes. But I'm just looking for making sure you're, like I said in the lectures, it's fine for me not to be able to see you, but on those test days, I do need to be able to see you on your Zoom. Um, and we will go from there. Questions on anything before we close out? That's 4.1 and 4.2. Next class, we'll look at 4.3, 4.4, unless 4.3 is like, super long or something. We'll look at those 2 sections. And Monday, we'll review. Questions, concerns, comments before we look to close? Better get the rest straight. All right. So that's all I have for today. Try the stuff out, see if you get stuck. If you have any questions, always feel free to bring them to class or shoot me an email and I will respond to them. Outside of that, you guys have a good one and I will see you on Wednesday.